G'day guys and welcome to Aussie English. My objective here is to teach you guys the English spoken down under. So whether you want to speak like a fair dinkum Aussie or you just want to understand what the flippin' hell we're on about when we're having a yarn, you've come to the right place. So sit back, grab a cuppa and enjoy Aussie English. So in today's episode, I want to run you guys through an expression. And this expression is an expression that I use quite a bit in English. And the expression is to be up shit creek. To be up shit creek. So what does to be up shit creek mean? To be up shit creek means to be in deep trouble. So to be in deep trouble with no solution, to be in a difficult situation. It means these sorts of things. I'll run you through the different words in this phrase first before sort of talking about how and when I would use this kind of expression. So I'll do it backwards. I'll run through the creek first. A creek is a stream or a minor tributary of a river. So it's a small flow of water. A river tends to be pretty big. A stream is slightly smaller. And then a creek is a very, very, very small river. A very, very small river. A creek is the kind of flow of water or river or stream that you could probably jump across. So shit. Shit is a rude slang term for poo, for feces, for crap. If you go to the toilet, you either do a piss or a shit if you want to be rude and say those two variants, or you pee and poo. So that's what shit means. I'm sure you'll all know the rude word shit. To be up, literally up obviously means the direction of above, up, as opposed to be down. In terms of a river, a stream, or a creek, if you are up a creek or a stream or up a river, it means that you're away from the end of the river, stream or creek. So you're near where it starts. You're up along the river, the stream or the creek. So to be up shit creek, literally in my head when I say this, it makes me think of someone in a boat, a small boat or a canoe, paddling up a creek, up away from where the creek ends. And in this case, a shit creek is not a creek of water, but a creek of shit. So imagine you have like a sewage plant somewhere that takes all of the human waste and sewage and it explodes, and you have a tiny little creek or river of all of the effluent, all of the shit coming out of that plant. You could imagine that turns into a creek of shit or a shit creek. So that's what conjures up, that's the image that conjures up in my head when I use this expression. If I'm up shit creek, I imagine myself being in a canoe on a creek of shit, and it just means that I know that I'm in a lot of trouble. So if you were literally in a canoe on a creek of shit, you can't really fall in, you don't want to jump out, you don't want to be in the shit, so you're in trouble. An interesting thing to add with regards to this expression too is that you'll often hear it paired with up shit creek without a paddle. Up shit creek without a paddle. So without a paddle is the thing that you use in order to paddle. Paddle's also a verb. So it's like an oar that you would use to row. If you were in what would you be in? In a rowing boat or in a rowing boat, I guess. So if you were paddling, it's more the double-handed paddle. And if you don't have the paddle, obviously you can't control the canoe. So if you're up shit creek without a paddle, it's added in there to suggest that it's intensified in difficulty, or the situation is even worse than if you were just up shit creek with a paddle. Now you're up shit creek without a paddle. And there's an Australian variant that I wanted to add for you guys to mention that I found online that was pretty funny, and I hadn't heard this, but it is definitely the kind of thing that Australians would say, and that is to be up shit creek in a barbed wire canoe with a rusty spoon for a paddle. So that probably conjures up a pretty funny image in your head. I'll repeat it again. To be up shit creek in a barbed wire canoe with a rusty teaspoon for a paddle. So first and foremost, you're up shit creek. Then you're in a canoe that's made of barbed wire. And if you know what barbed wire is, it's the wire along fences on farms that have little spikes. So they're little barbs. The wire is barbed and it has spikes. Imagine a canoe made from that wire. So obviously water's going to get in. It's going to be unpleasant to sit in. So you're in a barbed wire canoe. And then instead of a normal paddle, you have a spoon that's rusty, so it could almost be falling apart, and that's what you have to use as a paddle in shit creek in a barbed wire canoe. So I found that pretty funny. That's a fairly typical example of applying hyperbole to freshen up an expression. So you sort of exaggerate and make it a little more funny, and yeah, it just sort of turns it into a story. One question that I know you guys will probably ask is, how offensive is this kind of expression, to be up shit creek? You're not really calling anyone a name in this example. So you're swearing, which does elevate the offensiveness of this expression, but because you're not really calling anyone a name, you're not swearing at someone, you're kind of swearing with regards to a situation. It's not really, I wouldn't claim that it is that rude, at least. People aren't going to get offended if you use this in front of them. But I'll clarify, because you are using a swear word, I would not use this in formal situations. This is the kind of phrase that I would say with friends, with certain family members, some family members, you just may not want to say the word shit in front of, but if you can say the word shit in front of a person, then you can use this phrase, obviously. So that's one thing to consider. I wouldn't use it in formal situations at work, in an interview, in any of those sorts of things, but if I was out having a drink with my friends at a pub, at a bar, whatever it is, then I would definitely use this kind of language. All right, so let's give you guys some scenarios, some situations where you might want to use this kind of expression. The first one is, say that you are the best man at a wedding, and the best man is the sort of the friend of the groom, the guy who's getting married, who's sort of in charge and has to sort of lead the wedding. So give a speech, do all of that sort of stuff to help the groom on his day while he's getting, ready to get married. So say you're the best man and you've got to give a speech, but you forgot to write the speech. So you forgot to write the speech, and the day of the wedding comes and the groom says to you, how's the speech going? Are you ready? And you say, oh crap, I'm up shit's creek. I'm up shit creek. I've totally forgotten to write the speech. So that's an example where you could say, I'm up shit creek. What am I going to do? You're in a bad situation. Another example could be that you have an assignment that's due today at university and you've forgotten to write it because you've been partying all week, so you kept sort of postponing it. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow, but instead tomorrow never came, and all of a sudden the assignment is due today. Then you're definitely up shit creek. One more example could be that you and your girlfriend have your yearly anniversary today and you've forgotten to go home after work to spend the night in with her doing something romantic. Maybe you're going to have dinner, maybe you're going to watch a movie, maybe you'll even go out, see a movie or go to a restaurant, and instead you've gone to the pub with your mates and you're having a drink. When you get home, you are definitely going to be up shit creek and probably without a paddle. So that is definitely a situation where when you get home, your girlfriend or wife is going to be incredibly angry that you've forgotten the anniversary. And so you are going to be up shit creek. One more example, and this is probably where you would add that hyperbole and really use that sort of expression of up shit creek in a barbed wire canoe with a rusty spoon for a paddle. It's sort of when there's like multiple events that have happened that have really led you into a lot of trouble. So an example here could be you're driving home late at night, it's the middle of the night, you're in the middle of nowhere and you get a flat tire. So you pull your car over to the side of the road, and you realize as you get out to change the flat tire that you actually had a flat tire the week before, but you forgot to get a replacement tire. So you took the flat tire off the car, put it in the back, switched the tires around, drove off. That happened last week. This week you've gotten a flat tire again, just by chance, but the spare tire, the replacement tire that you have in the back, is flat. It's got a hole in it because you didn't replace it. So that's problem number one. As you get out of the car, it starts to piss down. And to piss down means to rain really heavily. So to piss down raining. So that's problem number two. Problem number three, you pull your phone out to call for help, to call your wife, to call the RACV. We call in Victoria, so they're who you would call to come and pick you up and help you repair your car. And you realize that your phone's battery just went flat. So this is definitely an example where you could say you're up shit creek in a barbed wire canoe with a rusty spoon for a paddle. Up shit creek in a barbed wire canoe with a rusty spoon for a paddle. So that's probably long enough for this one today, guys. I might do a quick listen and repeat exercise here at the end so that you can practice your pronunciation. But I hope that it's given you some insight into how we would use this kind of funny expression. It's definitely the kind of thing that if you as a foreigner use speaking English as a foreign language to you, if you use this with me, it would really make me laugh. You know, as an Australian who uses this kind of phrase, if you were to say, you know, you got in trouble, one of these kinds of situations happened, and then you said to me, a native English speaker, oh man, and I was totally up shit's creek or up shit creek, I would definitely laugh and be like, oh, this is so cool. It's so funny that you know that expression. And yeah, I might also add that it can be said sometime where you'll say shit's creek instead of shit creek. And I think I did that 2 or 3 times in this episode. And that's where you've just made the creek possessed by shit. So it's shit's creek instead of shit creek. It can be either. So listen and repeat after me, guys. Up shit creek. 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 Without a paddle. 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 Up shit creek 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 without a paddle. So that's it for today, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I'll chat to you soon. All the best. Thanks for listening to the Aussie English podcast, guys. If you haven't already, please come and join the community on Facebook at www.facebook.com/the Aussie English podcast, where I make daily posts about anything and everything related to Australia. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, then please leave a review on iTunes or Stitcher or whichever platform you're listening to it through, as it'll help the podcast grow. Thanks again, guys, and enjoy your day.